Hello, I thought we would read some Devos today. I haven't pre-read any of these, so I have no idea if they're good or not, and I have no idea which ones we're going to read. We're just going to go with the flow, see what happens. March 10th. May you see God's special purpose for your life, not just for today, but for every day of your life. You are mine for all time and beyond time into eternity. No power can deny you your inheritance in heaven. I want you to realize how utterly secure you are. Even if you falter as you journey through life, I will never let go of your hand. Knowing that your future is absolutely assured can free you to live abundantly today. I have prepared this day for you with the most tender concern and attention to detail. Instead of approaching the day as a blank page that you need to fill up, try living it in a responsive mode, being on the lookout for all that I am doing. This sounds easy, but it requires a deep level of trust based on the knowledge that my way is perfect. Peter 1:3-4, Psalm 37:23 and 24, Psalm 18:30. Teach me your way, O Lord. Lead me in a straight path. Psalm 27:11. Sorry about that. I might have to edit that out. I learned how to edit. By the way, if anyone's paying attention, remember how I used to have to make a video and then I would post another video and then I would post another video just to get through one session because I didn't know how to clip them together, and now I did learn how to like stick them together. It does change the resolution though, because it has to go from 4K down to 1080 if you do it that way, at least the way I know how. You know, I'm not bothering to learn any other ways right now. So, but I can cut out, I could like stop this video, slice it into two, cut off the end of that first piece if I didn't like it, and then cut off the beginning of the second piece and then stick them together. So that's a huge improvement. Like I didn't use it. I did not used to have that skill. Now I realize there are other people who are excellent video editors and know how to do all the things, and they've got all the equipment, are paying all the money, and can do all the cool things. I'm not even going to aspire to that. As long as I can like cut out some crazy stuff on occasion and make it one video again, like I'm really impressed with myself. Just saying. It's so long. Let's just read the beginning part and not the whole Devo. Testing reveals your heart. Remember that the Lord your God led you on the entire journey these 40 years in the wilderness so that he might humble you and test you to know what was in your heart, whether or not you would keep his commands. He humbled you by letting you go hungry. Then he gave you manna to eat, which you and your fathers had not known, so that you might learn that man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of the Lord. Deuteronomy 8:2-3. And then we'll skip. I just don't want to read a ton today. I still have to shower and eat lunch and, you know, all that stuff. Jonah keeps coming up in these things today. Not today, but recently. I don't even know why. I don't think I've ever read Jonah. Maybe I should read Jonah. A giant fish. The Lord will guide you always. He will satisfy your needs and will strengthen your frame. Isaiah 58:11. Yesterday, you read about God's mercy to Jonah and to us. Let's go back to the raging sea where Jonah was tossed overboard. Imagine you have no life jacket. The waves are monstrous, and you know you are no match for the sea. You cry out to God as your mouth fills with water. Then you travel down the throat and into the stomach of a fish. Jonah wrote, "The waters closed in over me to take my life. The deep surrounded me. Weeds were wrapped about my head." Then God saves you. But it isn't a normal answer to prayer. The Coast Guard doesn't show up, and you aren't rescued by kind folks who saw you being washed into the fish's mouth. No, the fish actually spits you out onto land. And this time, when God calls you to preach to Nineveh, you go. God answers your prayers. God's answers to our prayers are often surprising and unexpected. Mysterious even. Kitty, do not. He isn't limited to predictable, obvious solutions. He shows us his mind is much bigger than ours. God's answers are not our answers, just as his mercy is not ours. They're better. Father, when the answer to my prayer takes a different shape from what I expected, help me to trust your ways and your mercy. I don't know what I think about Jonah. That's it. It's Friday. I'm so glad it's Friday. Another half of the day to go, and then I can have the weekend. Super excited for that. One of my churches is doing bingo tonight. I have considered going and bringing my dad. We'll see. My dad does have Alzheimer's, and it's kind of weird bringing him places at this point because it's like if people think, oh, they're going to meet your dad, but they don't understand, they don't know in advance that he has Alzheimer's, like that can be a weird conversation. But I also might not go. Like I just, by the time Friday hits, like I am tired, you know. I don't have a ton of energy for like going out. But I also haven't seen my dad. We haven't had good one-on-one time for a while. Our family had a lot of family drama for a sliver of time that kind of came to a head, and then there was like this period of recovery of just silence and healing. And now I'm like, I can just tell it's like we're shifting into this getting back to normal phase. Or at least I don't want that stuff that happened to impact my relationship with my dad. You know, like that is really more like I took a break. Took a break from the family after all the drama. Just to heal. Just to like, can I have a breather for a minute? You know, and I've seen my dad, and like his girlfriend brought him over here, and like we've gotten some time, but it hasn't been like before at all. And I mean, I don't want to say I feel guilty about it. There's a piece of me that's like nagging, like I know I need to get back and like routinely, regularly see him again. I don't want to like neglect my own father. At the same time, there was significant trauma that was going on in our family, and sometimes you're allowed to heal, you know. So just to recap, because I know that anyone paying attention has seen like me like a wreck around like November, December, January. Well, a lot of that stuff was coming to a head. But so in short, how it played out was my dad, when he was competent, picked me to be his healthcare POA and his choice for guardian. If he ever needed a guardian, he wanted me to be the one. And my dad and I are very alike, very similar in a lot of ways. I have like training and experience working in nursing homes, doing home health care, being a social worker for clients on waivers. I know all about the elderly waiver and, CADDY waiver and the AC program. And like I have worked with so many of the aging and disability resources that are available for our state, and live like a mile away from my dad. Like, it's a pretty healthy choice to choose me for that role. And then he chose my brother for something. My brother declined his role. He didn't want to have a role. Okay, that's fine. He lives out of state anyway. He chose my sister for conservator. So, like, after he's dead, she would deal with the estate and stuff. And that's fine. Like, she lives in another state as well. And then chose my other sister, who is an accountant, to be his financial POA, and specifically excluding healthcare. Like, her paperwork was like financial only, and that is an appropriate fit for her. And she's got a master's in finance. You know, she's relatively competent with the accounting. It was a good fit. And then chose my baby sister, Aniki, who is 10 years younger than me, for the backup, because she's the youngest one, right? So if I need a backup for healthcare, it's my baby sister. And if my sister needs a backup for financial, it's that same baby sister. So she kind of can do both financial and healthcare, but just as our backups. And it was a really good plan in theory. And I'm the only one who lives in the state with my dad. And for an extremely long time, I have been really the only one helping him and taking care of him. And as he declined, I would help more. But it was never like I was the full-time in-home caregiver. And yet at the same time, he didn't need that. He lived with his girlfriend. Like, he had a full-time in-home caregiver. And then also, I never had any intention of being the full-time in-home caregiver. Like, I'm so aware of all the resources that the state has that I know how to work with, you know, the VA social workers, the county social workers, you know, whatever, get him what he needs in the house. And then when that's not appropriate, to just have services in the home, get him into a facility. Like, it's just, was my job. That was my career. Like, I'm an expert in that area. And saw my dad frequently. And it was kind of taxing in a way. Like, when there's 5 siblings and you're the only one doing the caregiving, or the supplemental caregiving, I should say, catching the gaps when there's issues with the in-home, you know, with the girlfriend or whatever, when you're kind of navigating that every appointments, you know, like time off work for me, my son, my daughter, my dad, like, that'll suck up your sick and vacation time in no time. You're not actually getting a real vacation, because even your vacation is going towards somebody's doctor's appointment. And so it was exhausting, but yet I always considered it such a blessing. Like, it was never hard. It was never overwhelming. It was never, he was never suffering. You know, it was just, the only hard part was working with my one sister who did the finances, because she was out of state, and everything healthcare has a cost to it. So we were actually having to work together super close. And I would say, well, we need this, you know, in the state, and she would deny it from outstate, because she had the power to with her financial POA. Or I would say, well, the VA needs this form filled out to get him these services in the home. She would refuse to fill out the form, or she would say, well, I already filled out that form once, I'm not going to fill it out again. I'm like, the government needs it for him to get the service. We need you to fill out the form. And we would just go back and forth, because she just was like trying to be so controlling of the finances from out of state. And it caused like tension. It was difficult, you know, but it wasn't unbearable. And we had always agreed as a family unit, all 5 of us, including my mom, his ex-wife, said, oh, well, Dad will never need a guardian. We'll just use our POAs. We'll use my healthcare POA and her financial POA, and you can get everything done with those. And that's the good thing about having them. And everything was working, other than every now and then there'd be a little bit of discord, like, because she would try to be controlling stuff from out of state. And then it kind of came to a head, and it took over a year to really unfold. But in essence, what happened was she decided she wanted to be financial POA, be healthcare POA, be guardian, and push me 100% out. And she wanted to move in. She wanted to own his home. And then she wanted to take him out of state with her to go live in her state, and yet not sell his home because she wanted the house as well. And there was all this talk in the family about how to like preserve the house from MA and to like, and it ends up being fraudulent at this point. It's like, you don't get to do that, you know? And then also it was this huge loss of like, you're going to take, Dad has lived in this state his whole life. He loves it here. He wants to be cremated and have his ashes spread here. Like this is his home. And you're going to just pick him up and move him to live with you out of state, to live with your husband who he hates because he's so vulnerable now as a vulnerable adult that he can't say no. And so that was difficult. It caused some like family discussions, like what's going on here? And she ended up doing some things, and it in essence divided the family. There was a couple people on one side and the other couple people on like the other side, and then it just split the family right in two. Because not because of so much what she was doing, but it's like the way she was doing it. It wasn't like having sibling conversations one-on-one, like let's discuss what I want. It was complete ignoring and complete stonewalling. And you would ask a question and she would not acknowledge that you even asked her. She wouldn't respond to texts. She wouldn't respond to phone calls. She wouldn't respond. It was very hurtful for family to be like, ignoring, like as if you don't even exist. And it was, and in the meantime, behind the scenes, while those of us dealing with that are dealing with that pain, she's meeting with attorneys and having my dad, even though he's not competent, sign paperwork to give her everything she wants. And he did sign it. And because it worked out with the way where the doctor hadn't already officially like declared him fully incompetent, because it's kind of a blurry line. The doctor's trying to give him as much freedom as possible for as long as possible. That was the loophole that allowed her to act like his signature was valid. So in essence, she got everything she wants. She got guardian, she got healthcare POA, she got financial POA. She successfully 100% pushed me out. And we ended up going through mediation because there was, without spending like 50 grand to fight that, there was only, mediation was the only kind of way to kind of come to some sort of agreement. And we got it where she's not allowed to move him out of the state. He has to stay in Minnesota. And she has to accept the services in the home. So there's another set of eyes watching now that one person has sole control. Like, let's put a professional in to just keep an eye on things here. And she's not allowed to own his house. The second that he has to move into a facility, the house gets sold to pay for the facility. And so we put enough like a safety net of like protections in place where at the end of that, it was like, as traumatic as this was to go through, and as against my own father's wishes it is, he's so far enough gone where he is oblivious and doesn't know. And so that's there's a piece there. And also it's a load off me, right? I currently have been able to stop a decade worth of, let me monitor everything about his healthcare. And that has been a nice break for me, although it's not wanted. Like, I would have preferred to do what my dad needed for him, but it's I guess that's like the blessing in disguise as having a break. But anyway, so at this point our family is so broken. Nobody is talking. There's 5 siblings. There's like, I'm talking to my one baby sister, and And yet nobody else is talking. The family, and it's not because I'm not talking to them. It's because I think they've realized what they've done and how they've destroyed the family. And it's like nobody's reaching out. There's a 0 group texts. There's 0 individual texts. There's 0 phone calls. My mom doesn't speak to me. My twin brother, like nobody is speaking. And I'm in the lull of like, well, it's good to have that drama over. Let me just enjoy hanging out with my dad again as daughter only. But I have, through the way, in addition to sort of losing my dad because of the Alzheimer's, I have also lost, and not that it's permanent, like we'll supposedly work through it all, but my mother, my brother, my sister, right? My other sister, like the relationships are so fractured. And it's like a death. It's like having your whole family die. So it has been a super intense time period, which just kind of got wrapped up in January. We're still tweaking some stuff with the final court order with the attorneys, because of course the attorneys are always doing a bad job, not writing things the way they're supposed to write things, and we're still tweaking that. But at this point, kind of the way it played out, it would be malpractice if the attorney doesn't fix it. So we're fixing that. And then luckily my baby sister is paying for everything because she has the money and she can afford it. So I haven't had to pay anything, which is nice. But and so it's not like he's in bad hands. Like, obviously, she will do a good job taking care of him. She has a good heart and she does mean well. It's just her lack of ability to work together with anybody else had such a destructive result. It's not normal for one adult to have 5 extremely competent children and only one of them have any power and any control. Like that shows something's wrong. And what's also hard about it is I see a lot of it as spiritual, because this is a sister who, of everybody, because nobody's Christian in my family, right? I mean, we were not raised Christian. And so I'm the only Christian. And this is the one sister who she would start asking me, like, will you buy me a Bible? Will you, like, she was always asking me to pray for her. And she was like taking steps in her Christian journey and coming to me for a lot. And I would always try to get her, like, you need to go to a church, like find a church in your state. And then it's as if the devil took charge and took over, took full control, and that's all gone now. Like, and I don't even know, I see it as spiritual, but it's hard to explain, but it's just, she's the sister who she'll go to the tarot card lady, and there's got to be something. It almost feels like something demonic is going on. And it's been so destructive. And so people aren't seeing clearly. And so that's the difference with dealing with Christians. If you're interacting with somebody and both people are like, they have the Holy Spirit and maybe they're having a struggle, they still have the Spirit there. Right? But if you're dealing with people who don't have that, it's like the devil can work through them in a whole different kind of way to cause damage and discord in that relationship. And it's up to then that person who is the Christian to, like, be super ultra forgiving, right? Super ultra loving, and just somehow fix the situation because they can't. And sorry. I have to stop because my battery is going to go soon. But, so, like, for example, my brother, my twin brother, the last time I spoke to him, I told him I loved him. It was not a bad conversation. We were talking, and I ended the conversation by telling him I loved him. And I don't often tell him I love him, right? And he heard me, and it was like a good talk. Time goes by. We have zero interactions. Next thing I know, he's emailing me, talking to me about how I'm spewing hate. Now, I haven't even had a conversation with him. Nothing on email, nothing on text, nothing on the phone, other than the last time we spoke when I told him I loved him. And he's coming at me with all this stuff about how I'm spewing hate. So I'm like, can you give me an example? Like, literally, like, nothing has happened. But it's like he's seen through the eyes of somebody that the devil is controlling, not through the eyes of somebody who has clear spiritual eyes. He truly cannot see. It's like being blind. And so that's what's causing, I feel like, a lot of this discord. What's so interesting about it is it's affected everyone. My mom, 2 of my sisters, my brother, and the only one it really didn't affect was my baby sister, who's 10 years younger. She, I wouldn't say she's a Christian, but she is super spiritually like sound, and like she'll like, I listen to the Christian worship music like in the car with my kids because it's the only radio station that comes in clearly by my house, and I think about you every time. And she just like, she recently had like prayed in her way, about getting pregnant, and and she did, and it was just like has such a pure good heart, and she's been such a solid rock through all of this. Now, again, she's not Christian. I'm not saying that it's because she's like Christian or anything like that. It's not like that. But I find it so interesting that the rest of the family who have been so hateful are the people who like, they consult the intuitives, they consult the tarot card readers. They have this, they don't have the Holy Spirit. And they're the ones who have caused such destruction, and yet are somehow, for whatever reason, blaming me and my baby sister. Like, and they see it, that's how they see it. And so that's where we're at as a family. We didn't spend holidays together. I don't know how it's going to play out. But anyway, I have to stop this video because it's like totally going to cut out on me any minute. But that's what's going on. So anyway, so tonight I may bring my dad to bingo at one of the churches, and I may not. And so we will see how that plays out. But just to even bring him, now I have to interact with the sister. And that's why it's been so long. Like, I'm kind of just not seeing him as much anymore, is because A, I needed a mental health break. And B, it's a lot of family drama to just act like didn't happen, or to work through when you're still recovering from the fact that it happened. I don't really want to deal with it, and yet I know it has to be dealt with. So that's that. Anyway, hope you have an awesome day. Talk to you later. Bye.